Hello,
Hey, David,
hello,
can
hello.
you hear me?
Uh, Let me turn it up. Turn up all the way. I can.
Hello.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
good.
Okay. Sylvia's here.
Hello, Sylvia.
Hello.
Yes. I call this meeting of the annual reports committee to order at 4:36. You've got the minutes before you. Have you read the minutes?
Last week.
Yes. Yeah.
Lots happened in the last week.
Yeah. Does anybody have any amendments to the minutes? I don't. So I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes. Sylvia has moved. Linda has seconded. So all in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I don't think so. So, I think we've got, I've got several comments on the, annual report draft, that I sent to Glenn and Emmanuel. So do you want to cover those suggestions?
Sure, we can certainly do that. Should we go like kind of section by section and just get notes, comments and stuff like that? So as you can imagine, it was my absolute goal to get, because that was part of the timeline, to get this out to y'all last week, and I apologies for getting it out a day late. So again,
No, it,
quite a
yeah.
quite a busy week, wasn't it? So,
Say the least.
yeah, just insane. But as you saw when Emmanuel sent it out as part of the note, right? We're not talking like frills yet. This is all very no frills. We just want to focus on content, get more ideas as we continue to sort of polish this. Without a doubt, there are going to be edits and little notes and things like that. So we'll look at that. But Commissioner Nugent, let me pull up your notes as well, and we will take a look for it. Here we go. All right. So I guess we'll just, yeah, we'll start with our first couple pages, right, about the arts and culture, the Office of Arts and Culture. From our notes before, there really wasn't any updates to this, but it looks like Commissioner Nugent had some comments about the 80+ people being sort of redundant.
Yeah.
Right under about the Office of Arts and Culture, OAC employs 80+ people, approximately 50 full-time and 30 part-time.
And I think the 80+ people is redundant.
Great.
Since we've already said 50, or say later 50 full-time and 30 part-time.
All right. And then anyone have any notes on page 3? Great. Page 4. I don't see any note. Okay, great. Moving on. Page 5 about the Arts and Culture Advisory Commission. We have that, and I think all of our names are updated too, because this is as of September 30, right? Which I don't think we've had any changes since then.
Well, and I said, what is the cultural plan and equity ad hoc commenced June 30, 23.
Oh,
What is that?
I don't know why that's crossed out, actually. That's odd. Because that's when it would have begun. It's June of 2023. Cultural plan and equity. Let me confirm. I think,
Okay.
What is that?
Can I comment on that, Glenn? If that,
yes, but you're
Chair?
breaking up a little bit.
oh, okay. Am I still breaking up?
Yes.
Little.
Yeah, for some reason, WebEx doesn't like my computer. But the annual report and public art are committees under the rules. The cultural equity plan is not under the rules, so it fits a different category. So could that be the reason? It's kind of an ad hoc committee that we added, but it's not. It's
Oh.
not.
Yeah, it says ad hoc. I think I just need to confirm probably the first month that committee began meeting. I think is really what we need to look at. The June 23 is just crossed out for
Yeah.
some
Struck
reason.
out. So.
Okay, so we'll look into that.
Right.
But yes, it is marked as ad hoc. The annual report and cultural plan and equity are both ad hocs.
Oh, okay.
Allocations and public art are marked as standing.
But this is just a small, style issue.
Yes.
Underlining, is there a reason why the subheads are underlining, you've got bold, but you need underlining as well?
Not necessarily. This is also some of the formatting from last year to help kind of keep me in tracking it as well. This will probably change as we put it into a template, into sort of like a more pretty looking template.
So now a lot of people, especially if they're looking at this digitally, they're gonna think there's a link. here.
Gotcha. Noted.
Oh,
Noted. All right.
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
And one of the reasons you'll see some of these pages are sort of page broken, I don't know, whatever, is because we'll also probably see on the report that a new page will show a new funding program or a new venue or something like that. So I was trying to separate this information a little bit more as well. Thank you for that note. Moving on, page 7, we get into programs.
So I have a question,
Yes.
but it doesn't really relate to the report. I don't dispute any of the figures.
Okay.
I just have a question that we should think about maybe. Why 8 tier 5 organizations got almost half of the total budget? Especially since none of those organizations were allowed.
I would love it if you want to come to some of our allocation meetings and do that. That is a really great point that you bring up. And I think this is, per usual, that is a very common question and what it looks like. So I can tell you a big reason is because those organizations make a lot of money, the TMA being one of them. Our allocations committee is really looking at how we address the disparity of spread of funds in between all of our tiers. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, understood. No, you are aligned with how the allocations committee also is looking at this,
Right.
seeing that.
But they're questioning it but they're allocating it.
Yes, because it's not the easy, so for instance, the DMA gets $1.08 million a year, and that's about 1/6 of the entire budget. And they're one of our largest organizations. And so that skews our whole funding spread, basically. But how do you address giving the DMA 1.08 without devastatingly taking money away from them? And how do we manage that with their management agreement? It's all very nuanced in that way. It's stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then
Will that ever be?
Yes, we are working on it. Yes, both with guidelines coming up and then also with other how we're looking at their management agreements and stuff like that coming forward in the next couple of years. Without being too specific.
okay, at the top of 8,
So sorry, 7. Did we have anything on 7?
No.
No. Okay, great.
top first sentence on 8, Arts Activate is one of OIC's project-based cultural support programs.
Got it.
Okay, anything else? Oh, on 8. I would like like us to define typologies.
Great, and we're gonna need to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Almost
For example,
everywhere.
what is considered urban core? The bar
I-
the chart indicates only 8% of events occurred in the urban core, but the map shows a lot of areas that one wouldn't consider urban core, and there appear to be a lot more than 8% of events.
I wonder if, do we need to address just sort of what the typology map is, maybe like at the beginning of programs?
I don't know where.
Or, yeah, I wonder,
We have this map,
yes, and it pops up in multiple places, but I don't wanna, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and I think in another place, a different map should come up, not this way, but we'll talk
Sure.
about that when we get there.
So I wonder, one of my biggest goals is to not put in, the same information multiple times throughout if we can avoid it. So
Right.
is there a way that we like talk about maybe in a, like about the Office of Arts and Culture or somewhere?
I think we do it right here while we're talking about typology.
Okay.
Because if I read it way back there and then I come up here, I'm gonna have to go back to. see
Sure,
that.
okay, cool,
And I think it happens right here to define what each one of those
great.
typologies is.
All right, will
Okay.
do. I'll see how
agree.
that can best sort of fit in
I
that.
agree.
And if you go on to the next page and you look at that map, all that blue stuff is urban core. And it's way up north and it's way down south. And it does, I mean, why
It
is
doesn't
that
feel
urban?
core.
Yeah, why is that urban core? What does urban core really mean?
Right.
So we need to know that.
Oh, sorry, I see what you're saying. The colors in these don't match the colors in the map.
Is that
That's a
right?
style thing. That's correct. Yeah, yeah.
What are the colors in the map?
The colors in the map, the yellow is urban core, so that's our most active. The
All-
blue is mixed urbanism.
Okay.
Oh,
that's-
Sorry, yep.
That's the confusion.
But that's the.
And what I'll do is I'll align those colors.
Align the colors,
the
because
style.
that's what was confusing.
Yeah, the key is here. It's just the colors aren't.
The
Yeah.
colors don't-
Oh, a key in here as well. Yeah. Yeah,
But it's not yellow.
yeah.
okay.
And we need a key for the maps.
Not
Okay,
yellow.
great.
So
Yes.
just
The
make,
large part.
make them all
Yes, the same.
the thing,
Thank you, thank
yes,
you, thank you.
okay.
Do you think you need definitions then on?
I do.
On these?
I agree.
I'll see how we can maybe present the map in an informational way. And so as you go through, you'll know what you're looking at, sort of clear the map beforehand.
Right.
Okay,
Um,
but see, according to this key, I mean, I really thought that you were telling me that
No.
all that blue stuff was urban core.
You're absolutely right.
So,
sorry for the confusion on that.
Another solution might be just do an asterisk with, a quick description,
Mm.
one sentence, one sentence.
Great.
right,
Below.
doesn't need to be much,
Really, really short.
Yes,
so we know what it is.
awesome.
And then all my next things with all the photos need captions.
Yes, captions and information on the photos for sure.
I agree.
This was just also us, sort of giving us some ideas of like what kind of photos we're looking
Right.
at to include. And so if there was a different kind of, did you want to see more people or more spaces or more something? I don't know what that might look like, but we can dig in a little bit
We know
deeper.
what's available, we
Yeah.
don't know what's available, so I mean, I don't have any objection to the images that are here.
That works sort of the direction we're moving in with these images.
Yeah,
It's
and,
appropriate direction.
I don't think you need to put the names of the people.
No,
No,
Yeah,
if,
Yeah, I
there,
agree.
yeah,
just have to say
The
what this
venue,
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
venue.
This is,
Venue.
this venue, this event.
I might say like what project or what funding program.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Have to
Okay,
name
great,
it.
great. So that takes us through page 10.
Yep.
Moving on then. Okay, cool. So page 11. Also, as far as like these like data or visuals, like this is what we're thinking about. This is what, we'd like to see. Is that right? I know we had made the list before, but now that we're actually seeing like the tables and the maps and the graphs on here.
And
This is
you-
looking
and-
okay.
And you are gonna arrange them in
Yes,
ways
yes.
that they're not just like splattered
No,
across half
absolutely.
the page.
I
Like,
have it, you'll have
Yeah,
it designed.
be fine.
Might
Yes.
Just
I'm
to
sure.
have not too many, but a collage of.
Right.
of
Yes.
different-
And what kind of like the cover was last year? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Like that.
great. All right, so 11, we're looking okay?
Yeah,
All right.
12, I have, and if,
Yes,
okay, so. the
We don't
ta-
see,
The table that is referenced by this map is based on council district. You
yes,
come down to this and it's event locations, and the map is
the
the
typology,
typology.
yes.
I would like to see that map be
So should I just not do a typology and just do district map
Do a
then?
district map there.
Okay,
That's what
great.
I think.
I agree.
All right, I can do that.
And then you
Glad we
can,
have these tools
and if
now.
you still, and if you still have, can still do the little dots, that's good.
Yes,
you
definitely.
know.
I'll just put a different, I'll replace the layers. It'll be the same
Right.
map, just I'll put the
So it'll
district
be the
layer.
district map on it.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Great.
I
Right.
wonder why District 13 doesn't have any events.
So this was,
Those,
right, we had two culture values that are reported in this report. One basically from last year that bled into this year. Well, 2 years ago that bled into this year, the NEA funded program. And that was a choose your own location. And then when we get to the general fund one that we did this most recently, that's when we'll see events in every district.
Okay.
But that's why. I'm already anticipating Commissioner Trizilla having some comments.
what?
Commissioner Trizilla having comments about
Oh,
not having stuff up there.
yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
as I was like working on this, I was sort of mentally preparing, but also I think this is how we keep ourselves accountable as staff when we're looking at how we continue to navigate that. Okay, cool. Page 13, this is when we get into culture value general fund.
This is when we get to culture value general funds.
But
Chair Small, I think you're, wait, no, it's okay now. Never mind.
No, what was the question?
Nothing. There was some feedback for a second, I think, through your,
Your feedback.
oh. Am I talking too loud?
No, I think
It's typical. No one's ever told me to do this. Okay.
The last,
that no one ever.
what?
in the last sentence, under cultural value,
Oh,
we use
past tense.
future tense
Mm-hmm.
rather than past tense.
Oh, where?
Thank you for that. Top of page 13. Thank you for that. Good catch. I'll change that.
Yeah.
And then any of these bullets that are still there, it's because we need to find some more photos for that.
Yeah.
That's why I've put those in as reminder notes for myself. So here we have events by council district. I didn't do a map for this. I certainly can, but instead I listed out because these were all at library branches and rec centers. So I wouldn't have listed those locations, but I can certainly create a map if we want to see where across those districts they are.
I think people are visual, that you can do a map, simple map.
I think I would rather see one or two pictures of
Oh, we'll do
these
both.
events. You're
We'll
gonna
do both. Yeah, district map with locations. Great.
Right.
I'll do that. All right.
I wonder if we should put cultural value general fund before culture of value 2024. So that would,
Well, it's the NEA and the not NEA.
Yeah, do you want to look at, I did it chronologically, but we can put general fund first. Or honestly, we can,
It makes sense to me the way you have it.
up to y'all.
I don't. But
I think the council, if the council reads it, they will focus on their district rather than so,
Okay.
that's true.
Okay, so I'll do general fund, then NEA.
But you have the districts on all of them, so.
Yes, but one shows that like everyone gets something and then
Yeah.
so I'll change up how that language in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
organization goes.
It's fine.
Great.
Great.
All right. Page 15, I see some notes from Chair Nugent. Do you need to parenthetically explain what Alana is? Can we
and
explain
I
that somewhere
and
else?
you,
It's Asian Arab, it's right there.
well, they,
The first time it's mentioned, yes.
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 but yes, but you mentioned it
Way at
several
the beginning.
times.
Okay. Let me,
subsequently.
so I'll go through the whole document. And
Yes.
yes, it is.
Sure.
And once again, our
Yeah.
audience, our main audience is city council, right? And then people within. Plus.
I wonder whether the city council reads it.
That's the goal, so they would know, and any other city.
Well, it's not.
Yeah.
I know.
It's documented.
Okay. Great. All right, I'll do that. That was the only note from Chair Nugent. Events in attendance by council just for CAP. Again, these are not, obviously the colors are also
Just gonna fix.
mixed up. I'll fix that.
Okay.
But look at CAP, isn't that cool? I just love that, just where everything happened for CAP, like that, man. It's really nice.
The attendance.
I just think that's just such a great, such a great visual. I'm glad we figured out how to do GIS mapping. It's really helpful.
Yeah, that's a big asset.
It's big as it.
Everybody asked for that. and
For what, the-
Yeah.
The.
Yeah, he helped. He was the reason why we were able to get it done.
Gene's ministers.
Okay, so should we just insert? What's this say? Attorney Jen? Should we just?
Never mind. I was looking at it on black and white print. rather than-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not the easiest to read either. That's my fault. Okay. Moving on, photos, captions, yes. Cultural venue, pop-up cultural program, do we have any notes on that?
Just caption.
Captions, yes. Thank you. Moving on. Cultural venues, number of attendees like LCC.
Yeah, and look at LCC and it has number of patrons
Oh.
visited.
Okay,
Got a couple of things on this page too.
which page, 20 or?
21.
21.
Where we actually get the words. Okay, so the Oak Cliff Cultural Center needs to have another C in OCC because it's Oak Cliff Cultural Center. Often we call it OC3,
Yeah, I'll probably change to Josie.
this OCC. Then the next question is down at the Latino Cultural Center, is the Black Box Theater new? Or do we want to cut that? Is it still considered new? It's been running for what? It's running for a couple of years, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, it's okay with me if we decide to leave it. It's newer than the rest of the building, but, you know,
I'll get rid of that. It's
I
fine.
don't know. It doesn't matter. Okay.
If it didn't matter, you wouldn't have brought it
You're
up.
right. And then at the bottom where it talks about all of the increased this and produce that and establish
Mhm.
that, then you've got the Savita Health Clinics. Should you put an established relationship with them instead of just putting that
Mm.
down there?
Yeah, I'll do some better
So that it-
explanation there.
So that it goes with everything else?
Yeah.
Section.
Verb.
And then the caption. And now what does Jim have? I'm trying to-
So back on the bathhouse page, that page 20,
Aha.
he was talking about
Finish that, but-
number of attendees like LCC. So we have approximately 7,000 attendees. But that's just at that event. You kind of want to see number of jeez, number of events in attendance, basically
Oh,
for
yeah,
each
Yeah.
venue.
Yeah.
Okay, because what do we have?
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so.
number of events.
You don't have to be specific. I mean, just this many events.
Yeah,
This many
You know,
people.
venue.
everybody, yeah.
I think that's very reasonable.
That's fine.
All right.
I'm
Same.
gonna, something to just say, I think, I don't know who's Jim's photography, I still think we could be more dynamic and talk.
In our photos? Yes. Okay. We'll take a little bit more.
I mean,
I'm looking through.
I've got some other photos of things that I've taken at events that I think
Send them.
Cinnamon?
Not sure what I have, but I should look.
We'll need to poke our managers a little bit more for some photos too.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great. Noted. Thank you. So that takes us to page 22.
Is that South Dallas Multi?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So, emphasis on African contribution to world culture located, there are or is a 10C, if it's is a 10C Black Box Theater, one, a dance studio, a multi-art studio, visual arts gallery, 2D art studio, and an audio recording.
And an audio. Thank you for that.
So I don't know if you want to say there are all those things, or there is this, and there is that, and there is that. It depends on how you want to read that.
I'll probably do is and then
But then if
give
you
those
have an
articles.
A in front of each one, then it makes sense to
Yes.
do that.
Great. Thank you for that. All right, so that takes us through, okay, page 23, we have Moody.
I have one question. The Black Academy of Arts and Letters, does T-Ball actually manage the convention center? Since the other groups do manage their facilities, that's what it sounds like, and I don't think that's cool.
So restate.
Okay, it says that the OAC manages 8 long-term use and management agreements with nonprofit cultural organizations, and the programming of city-owned cultural facilities, including, and it lists them all, and Black Academy of Arts and Letters
take
at
Black
Cape
Ball
Coral
out?
Convention Center. It's, everybody else sounds like they're managing it under OAC's supervision,
Yeah,
but T-Ball is not.
Agreement is yes.
yeah, that's true.
So that's confusing to me, but
Yeah.
it sounds like they're just like the theater center in Colita.
You're right.
They're not.
I'm gonna rephrase that whole intro. I'm gonna rephrase this whole intro, paragraph before that list anyway.
Right.
It's kind of confusing.
So it
Thank
makes
It makes more sense. So we'll remove T-ball. We have AdPac with therefore
yes,
venue.
Pac does those.
Dallas Black Dance.
They
Oh.
they do the YMCA, don't they? Do they manage that?
Yes,
I
yes, they
think
do. So would you also, actually speaking, so Heritage Village, Old City Park, that contract expired in May, which is why it's in here. Do I need to make like a little note to say that
Yeah, probably so.
asterisk? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Expired May 2024. Okay. Kalita, great, or the theater center with Kalita and Help, DMA Symphony Association,
Right. And so
and Samples. Okay, great.
they all do that. They all manage those.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Public art program.
It's all pretty clear.
Okay.
My question is, right before commissions and donations, the information below provides listings and details. Is that sentence even necessary?
No,
Just
Pardon?
jump into.
it's certainly not.
commissions.
Just,
Yeah.
just
You know.
say it. Don't tell me that you're about to say it. Got it. All right, that's page 24, page 20.
Wait, I got another one. On the bottom of 24, where you've got shadow lines, you've got an asterisk, and there is nothing relating to the asterisk. And I'm wondering what the reference is, and should it be noted that the piece was named in the top 100 CODA Award nominees here? It's referred to later. I don't know if it needs to be here. It's referenced under achievements and events on page 31. But you have an asterisk right here, and I don't know where that asterisk,
Goes.
what is it, what does it reference?
That's a great question. I don't know.
It might have been left over from last year. We were talking about it getting ready to.
So I think if we ditch the asterisk, then it's okay for it to not appear until we talk about the achievements and events.
Then let's just get rid of the asterisk. That's, I think you're right.
I agree. Because you're looking for something.
You're looking for something and there's nothing there.
Hmm.
There's another place where something like that comes
I'm
up.
sure there is, like, guilty of copy and pasting, am I? That's exactly right. All right, so page 25 then.
Where is this page? Yes, 25, I have notes, of course. There's an asterisk on rising,
Yeah.
and it needs a reference or it needs to not be there.
So rising
I
is,
don't know. And also, a little further down, where you go conservation of Henry Moore's conservation of Freeman.
there we go.
That's all I have.
Ah,
Great.
you're eagle eye.
Now,
And then I have captions.
yes, of course, photos, captions, great. All right, that takes us to 28, municipal radio and peer review panel program.
Are you happy?
I'm thrilled. Be happy if you did have something.
Yeah.
All right, and some photos of that. Cute. All right. So key metrics, I made that note, right?
Right,
We're still
right.
just really trying to close out the year along with everything else.
So I have this thing marked in yellow. You should ignore if I send this to you on YOY, because it took me a minute to figure out that it would be over.
Got it.
here.
Thanks.
Just ignore that.
All right, and then Chair Nugent mentioned, do we need to spell out Alana? No, we do not. So we'll get rid of that.
Just doing it early.
Mhm.
And I thought the goal or the accomplishments of the for a year end 24 panelists were great.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Julia put that together for their celebration. I was like, that's the perfect thing to
Yeah,
put in
but
here
it's
again.
exactly, yeah.
It was good.
And it's, I think, just a really great showing of how many people are spending their time.
Right.
Yes. Then we get to achievements and events, and this is really, I really didn't do a whole lot with this, mostly because I think we need to get together too and figure out what we want to list in our own OAC achievements and events. But then as far as commission and committee achievements and events, there just wasn't anything there. I don't know if, do we want to include something like that?
So you have Shadow Lime's nomination, but you're gonna be a little more specific about what that nomination
Yeah.
is?
I think we just, I think we need to sit down maybe in our next core team and talk about what we want to do.
And State of the Arts, was that the event that we all attended at the
Yep.
movie? Is that what that was?
Mhm. So
So
I
we
think-
need to know what these things are.
define, got it.
Arts Month, you know, April, I think
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Next month. Okay. Yeah,
It's an
Sounds
it's an
better,
event, a whole month of events.
yeah.
Because it doesn't look like we did a whole lot.
I just don't think we want to remember it anymore. No, okay, so I'll get rid of commission and committees then. Strike that, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So I have a confusion going forward. We have two headings for goals and objectives for fiscal year 2024. Should we have goals for fiscal year 2025? And why do we have two different headings and two different groups of?
Oh, I do.
Oh, this
notice
is
that.
25, thank you. And then where's the other?
Well, if you go further down, there's all of these
Oh.
things with amethyst,
Yeah,
amethyst stuff.
yeah.
And the allocations committee and all the, and attachments, and then you come down at appendix. And
Yes.
goals and,
So what we do in the appendix for goals and objectives is this is 2024, and this is how we addressed the goals and
okay,
objectives. Yes,
so this is actually 2024.
yes, the
and
other one is
other
25,
is Actually 2025.
correct, because it's
That makes more sense.
our goals for this, what the year that we're now in.
Right,
Look at it.
and what did we do that?
And so I was telling Chair Nugent that Commissioner Curiel had just given us all of these goals, and so I just wanted to make sure all of y'all had them at your,
Yeah.
you know,
There were a bazillion of them.
yes, there were, but I just wanted to make sure y'all had them, and then Chair Nugent sent out the
Goals, the 5 goals from Tamitha, condensed down from the 27 goals.
That's great.
Oh.
Which is that? Where is that?
It's in the email.
Yeah,
here, I can.
Well, I didn't get that.
Yes.
I know I didn't look at them either, but so as a part of the conversation for this. There we go. This was a conversation that we had last year as well, when it comes to the goals and objectives, because these are the commission's goals and objectives. And so while staff is always here to collaborate and assist with your goals and objectives, that they, it is my recommendation that they be centered around you and your actions as commissioners, instead of directives for staff. And so it'll be my
I would not.
work to continue to drive, to guide you in that direction.
Yeah.
One of the examples I used earlier this afternoon was Commissioner Weinstein's
public art.
yes, public art goal of, making sure that the whole commission is, briefed and aware and knowledgeable about the public art process. I thought that was a great goal, because we brought Lynn in, she brought in her, she did a briefing on like the whole thing and why, why does it take the time that it takes, and how do we, procure our artists for things like that. And I thought that was really wonderful, because it helped everyone. It was relatively easy to do. And then everyone knew, right? And it, done, goal met, right? The AI one that Commissioner Holomo brought up last year, I thought was also a good one. That one took, again, a little bit of time to get back to being commissioner-led and centered. But
I
then,
don't know how it is actually. I mean, I understand the need to understand AI and the need to understand how it affects our groups
Mhm.
and our artists. I'm not sure how it relates to us as a commission.
And I think those are great things to think about as these goals are sort of,
Say something?
oh,
David?
Yes, I wanted to comment on that, Linda. Uh, as you recall, I asked Tino to address that. Actually, I kind of put it out there for anybody, but he certainly volunteered and moved forward with it, and has done a great job doing it. And the reason I suggested it was because as we make recommendations for funding, and AI is continuing to be a topic of not only legal issues but funding issues, we have to have some sort of guideline that uses an evaluation of exactly how much AI is on a project and how much of it is human created. If a project is totally AI and not human created, I mean, even the copyright guidelines have changed, and that the human creation is an element for copyright protection. And I just think that as we have more and more AI created visual arts, if a computer is totally doing all of the work and replacing a lot of the artists, then we may want to have some sort of guideline that considers it. And that's kind of what we were looking at.
Well, that makes sense to me.
Chair Small, can you turn your camera on, please? Just to make sure that we,
Off?
on.
It is on. It's
Oh,
weird.
that's-
I see me.
Oh, you see you, I don't see you.
Yeah, in fact,
On
it says
my-
here, I'm viewing Manuel Castellano's screen, and looking at Manuel Castellano's screen, I'm seeing myself. And my video thing is on my menu.
Okay,
Got it.
We're
Okay.
Not
not
muted.
testing on that one.
okay, great. As long as it's on, sorry about that. It doesn't look on for us. I just want to make sure that we can
Right.
still count you as present.
I agree.
I think also in regards to that, we need to be knowledgeable and aware, and we're allies for artists.
Yes.
And to be there to represent and to understand what their challenges are as artists, as AI continues to impact them, good and bad, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think Tino's goals are perfect.
Commissioner will develop recommendations to address information. Yeah, great.
Well, and I think you distilled them down. Yeah.
I did. I think last year was staff will, no, they won't. Happy to help. Let's see, and then Commissioner Blaze, yours are blase, why is that?
I plus that. You fix that.
Yeah.
It doesn't. No, it's a, never mind.
The goal is to find a way to help groups that own their own buildings with major maintenance expenses that groups using city facilities don't have to bear. Yeah, so we're in our goals. So
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
what would be helpful, how would y'all like to have this discussion on these goals, knowing that we have this list of, 27?
And I only did one.
Right, so what, do we want to go through all of these right now? Do we want to look at them and think about it?
I don't know. I think I like 5.
Or we can talk about these specific 5 that Commissioner Curiel has sort of distilled hers down to, if that's helpful.
Well,
Yes.
if I come in here,
Yeah.
I'm trying to raise my hand. Okay. I think we could begin by narrowing it and trusting Glenn and Martine and Manny to look through it and see if there's anything that is more directed towards staff than towards commissioners. We could start with those and kind of trim the number with those. I think that quite a few of these kind of fall in that category.
Well, and Tamitha consolidated her goals into 5.
That's,
Yeah.
that's good.
So hers were collaborate across city departments, Commission on Disabilities, Economic Development, Park and Recreation, for accessibility and to amplify mutual community benefits. What I would say on this is, I don't know what that means. I know what it means, but I don't know what that means. You know what I mean?
It's almost values versus goals and
Right,
it sounds like values.
right. So,
Aspire for that.
I mean, they have all these other departments have other partnering boards and commissions to them. Is that what this is? I just don't understand what our call is in this, what your call is in this. Is it you working with those other bodies and us helping you connect with maybe your district partner in that to help with these different thoughts or initiatives? This one I could just use a little bit more clarity on, I think. The other one, collaborate with community partners to explore arts for everybody, arts on prescription and food and culture partnerships. I just don't like. Okay. Same comment basically. I'm just not sure what that, as for y'all as a body, what that means for you.
Let me just toss this out. She's very involved in working with people with disabilities and has worked with, what's her name? I know this actress really well, and I can't think of her name. That's my age-related degeneration. And they have been working out of churches and places, and they've been trying to find other places to do this kind of work and to get some support from the OAC to do that work. So I think that's where it's coming from. And I'm not sure how we distill that into a goal for us as a commission or for you as the OAC to do that. I think it's probably worthwhile because what they're doing is they're using arts to relate to people who don't generally get to do that. And I think that that's a good goal.
Well, I think in that line, the way Commissioner Holomo has sort of drafted his goal is the commission will develop recommendations, right? As that advisory body, I think that's a really great sort of showing of that. So maybe that's what this looks like, that, for whether it's programming or assessing our programs through a particular lens of access, disability access and things like that.
Barriers.
Right. So if that means y'all coming up with recommendations on how to do that, or looking at our guidelines for things, or as you go about attending different events across the city and seeing Arts Mission Oak Cliff as a facility, I know that they're working on their ADA accessibility issues, but what does that mean for us interacting with them as a city entity? Things like that. Maybe that's as we look at how we draft that goal, making recommendations to, or throughout the city as a commission, creating a list of facilities that may have accessibility issues, or ones that have really great accessibility that we want to highlight, or something like that.
And I think we can do the space finder in,
And I think,
incorporate that.
yes,
All of this as well.
which
Look at her green. This is.
CP&E, I think that's one of their committee goals. Continue to work on facility accessibility for Alana organizations and COP who currently have no,
And include people with cognitive disability and physical disabilities. Those could all go into that goal, which I think is a good one.
Okay, great.
And it's well stated, isn't it? I
Yes.
think it's well stated. Okay, all right.
So programming for folks with cognitive disabilities, develop arts programming, individuals with disabilities. Yes, so here we get into who's developing arts programming.
Right.
Right, so, which I totally get, I understand the intent behind all of this too, but just, I think phrasing it as something that, at the end of the year, when you're like, how did commission meet their goals?
Right.
What I don't want is for you to look at staff and be like, how did I meet my goal? Like, what did you do to help me meet my goal? Like,
It sounds like to me where it's develop arts programming for individuals. It looks to me like we're looking for another funding program.
yeah,
And I'm not sure that we can do that. So that's. another-
Right,
I mean,
right.
Doesn't it look like she's looking for another
Mhm.
funding program to fund those activities,
Yeah.
which are worthwhile activities? but I'm not sure how to do it.
Well, and then, I mean,
That's why the committee's do that.
Yeah,
yeah, and so if that, again, those recommendations of looking at what we currently offer and making recommendations on how we might adjust or amend something that we're currently doing. It could also be helping come up with, you know, are there grants that are being offered that we just don't necessarily have the capacity or the time, or we're not looking in the same places, and that as advocates and as
So-
advisors looking at.
so the one-time chairman of the board at Theater 3 said to me at one time that he felt like what we should be doing is steering these companies to organizations that supply grants,
Mhm.
steering them to the grantees, the grantors.
Yeah,
So that they don't have to spend forever trying to find somebody to help them with the grant for their building or a grant to pay their actors or whatever it is. That we have a list of people or organizations that tend to want to support the arts, and that they could then use that list to make, to make connections.
right.
And that doesn't seem like a hard thing,
I think that's a great goal.
So add that.
So-
Funding opportunities.
So are you saying that we were kind of database for foundations and donors?
Maybe, I think, again, it's sort of how y'all see it work. That I think connecting, especially your liaison organizations, and maybe that's what it looks like, helping, like your goal would be to help connect them with a funding opportunity out, because I think that's in our cultural plan,
Yeah, it's
actually,
outside of the
is
city.
finding out other funding sources, and instead, so basically, like, keeping us out of the way.
Yes.
And connecting your organizations, your liaison organizations with a different funding opportunity outside, whether it's, discipline-based or,
Right.
Focused on something else, or simply just kind of an arts grant in general, things like that. I think that's awesome, because then when we come back and we say, how did you do this? Hey, I introduced them to this. And it doesn't have to be that they got the grant. It's more like I connected them with something, right?
That's right.
Showing ways that we're moving
That's
in
right.
that kind of direction.
Which leads me to a question that I have about this whole thing about goals. How do we actually do them? I mean, we come to meetings where there's already an agenda prepared. How do we actually incorporate these goals into our function?
Looking at, sure,
David,
And tonight,
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I think first of all, and I like what Glenn said earlier, how we don't want to get in the way of some of these efforts outside of what our task is. I mean, from the general nature, I mean, all our job is to make recommendations to the council as to the funding for the arts programs that are funded by the city. So if we want to meet a goal, generally those goals would fall under one of the committees that are tasked with implementing what our role is in these funding recommendations. So if we want to make sure that we reach a goal, like if say it's a public art goal, within that committee, they would address that. If it's an allocations goal, then they would address that. If it's an equity goal, they would address that. If it's some other, if it's something that doesn't fit directly in that, then when we discuss new business or as we discuss something that may be tangentially related to that particular goal or effort during a meeting, if it comes up and we discuss it through a comment, then we can, the commission can decide whether to move forward with that action or not. I think we're pretty good on expressing our views on these different deals. But as we compile this list of goals here for the purpose of an annual report, which we're doing here, obviously 27 is too many. Well, to me, it seems like 27 is a lot. But if we whittle this down, I think
agree.
if we start, if we start by whittling down the things that are clearly outside of our jurisdiction to act in the first place, then I think that that kind of brings it to a more manageable number. And then some of the ones that overlap, like if we've got one person who wants to collaborate on this and it's worded similarly. I think there was one that we were talking about where Commissioner Curiel mentioned a goal that was similar to one that's already been covered by the Cultural Planning and Equity Committee. Maybe we could just go ahead and take the best language and as the author of that recommendation or goal, put both names there. And, they would see that it just kind of got synthesized into one as we're trying to make it a more manageable number.
All right.
Yeah, I think that, and we can, I mean, allocations, CP&E and public art always have a chance to sort of, just like Chair Nugent's going to have a chance to sort of give an update on this. They can do those goals, and maybe that's something that we talk about periodically to have like an update on like where we at with our commission
Right.
goals. Okay, just to like check in.
Want to talk about mine?
Yeah, let's talk about yours.
Okay. I have tried to get this through on multiple occasions and nothing ever works. And it doesn't work because clearly the city attorney is not going to approve giving money to Theater 3 to fix their air conditioners. That's never going to happen. And we all know that's never going to happen. But when you look at some of the things that these groups have to do, have to pay for, it's a real budget buster. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, Theater 3 paid, what did I tell you the other day?
$8,000
Something like that to replace their air conditioners. And then they had a plumbing issue that was actually a contractor problem, but their landlord wasn't gonna pass the warranty time. So they had to take care of that. So those things are horrible for them to deal with. So thinking about how to work around this, it seems to me that they're already renting their space out. Be laughing.
Oh, this is someone just walked in.
They're already renting their space out as much as they can. But here's the deal. If we can come up with a way to fund smaller groups to pay the rent on places like Arts Mission Oak Cliff, Kitchen Dog, Theater 3, Bishop Arts, all those places that have to bear all of those other expenses, we can reimburse a rental fee for the smaller groups. And so what we're doing then is we're killing two birds with one stone. We're finding a way to help the smaller groups that have no place to perform, and we're steering that money to those groups that need support. And so I don't know whether that would that go under allocations? Probably not. There's nothing that allocations does that handles that. Is it a whole new program? It's just something that
I think it's a new program.
I think so too, and it would be new to us. My understanding is that it existed before. We've had this conversation with Joanna St. Angelo and then Teresa Coleman Wash. It was their rental reimbursement program. I think is what they called it.
That's what they call it.
It is on our radar. I think for sure, because I think it is I think it's an interesting program, an interesting way to work around capital funding, essentially.
It just there's money to them and they can.
Right. Right. And
So
I think, so I'm thinking to myself, how do we frame that as a goal for commission?
that's
That, and so,
Well, let's see. There we go.
yes.
There? Oh, okay, yes,
We're paying
to some extent, I think.
We're paying attention to you, David.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure I was clicking the right thing here. But a couple of things on that, Linda. I think to some extent, the mechanics of how the staff operates does cover some of that. If it is, I know we had that issue with Dallas Black Dance Theater with they had a major air conditioning expense. I think if in the contract with them and their facility, if the expense is large enough, there's a difference between what they call maintenance and what they call capital improvement or capital repair. Capital repairs, I think they're handled differently. the organization would have to take care of certain things if it's maintenance, and then they get reimbursed. If it's a capital repair, then I think the city does come in and try to take care of that. So I think the process for that is already in place. I don't know if we need um, a new guideline or goal to address it. I think that one is pretty much in place. And further, I think in terms of the rental reimbursement, like they have to spend a whole lot on rent. That actually came up in the cultural planning and equity, and Vicky made a recommendation that it's looked at in terms of if an organization pays X amount, or if they receive funding. Glenn can chime in and state this more correctly if I misstate it. But if an organization is reimbursed for rent, or if no, let me restate that. If an organization has to pay rent and they receive funding and their funding has to go to rent, maybe we should look at that and not charge them that same amount of rent in the first place, so they keep a larger share of the funding. Is that a fair statement, Glenn?
Yes, but I think to Commissioner Blaze's point, she's talking about privately owned cultural venues. Everything that the capital operating maintenance discussion that you're having, Chair Small, is for our city-owned but partner-managed facilities. And
Yes.
so, but the privately owned ones, we cannot provide capital funding for that kind of situation. And I think we might even start splitting hairs and even what capital means for them too.
Yeah.
But doing a rental reimbursement program for them, which actually wouldn't technically go to the organization directly, it would go to those who are renting.
Right.
But those rents would then go to the privately owned facility. Would be a really relatively easy workaround.
Yes, so let me just give you an idea here. The AC repair for Theater 3 in September cost them $17,000. They pay over $8,000 monthly rent, and their utilities range about $1,800 to $2,200 a month.
Yeah.
So that is a huge amount of money. And as we all know, not-for-profit theater doesn't usually make a whole lot of money.
So looking at that as
Theater 3 was able to rent space to Second Thought Theater.
Huh?
They would
They could charge Second Thought Theater. Second Thought Theater could pay them that money. The city would reimburse Second Thought Theater for the rent that they paid to Theater 3. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. So looking on how that would be a goal for commission,
Yeah.
would that be, because I think Teresa sent me I think she still had a file of the old program, something like that. Looking at how commission might develop a recommendation to staff on, hey, does that mean like looking at that program and kind of like seeing how do we update something like that to present to staff as a potential program? I'm thinking of a way where y'all are able to, present staff with a particular idea, because you've basically, as far as like alleviating particular capacity on our end, you've been engaging with the groups that are renting.
Yes.
Or the groups that have the space that would also benefit from renting out their space or something like that. And maybe that's what it is, something of that nature.
Just make a presentation to you and say, can we do this? Is that what you're saying?
We would just have to be open for discussion. Check.
Yeah, which committee would it be?
Most likely.
That's where I would put it. Most of it, how many's given?
So, so as we're thinking of like how we're drafting these goals, something like that, maybe, if that's how we want to look at it.
Somebody who's better at writing this, write it.
All right.
Well, and I think allocations committee doesn't want to give withdrawal funds for DMA or Second Thought Theater or Theater 3 to,
Well, the question would be, how would you decide what the amount of reimbursement would be if they haven't already negotiated the rental of the space? And you're not going to get that until they do that. We want to rent from here to here. How much will it cost? Theater 3 or Bishop or whatever says, this is how much it will cost. This is what is included in the rental, blah, blah, blah. Then they would have to come to allocations and say, but see, that's off calendar, off
Yeah.
schedule. That's.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if instead of like trying to come up with a program to then present to staff, to then have to amend this program into something different, maybe it is doing some of that benchmark, looking and like, hey, here are the spaces in town that these privately owned arts venues, and these are the rents and what's included in the rent. Or something like that, to help sort of give that groundwork research. I don't know, I'm trying to think of like,
Is that kind of a Joe?
Yeah.
Question?
yeah, fair enough. All right, fair enough. All right. To Martine's point, let's focus back on there. I think, okay, so knowing that Commissioner Curiel has distilled her goals into these 5, we have your goal, we have Commissioner Holomo's goal. How do we, and then I think our allocations, CP&D and public art goals, I think those are probably fine.
Yeah.
I think last year, Commission gave themselves 5 or 6 goals, 5 goals.
Sounds like say you want to keep it at 5.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think so too. So this is the one, if I may, this is the one part of the annual report while we work on the appendix and the other like visuals and stuff like that, but I very much like handing back over to y'all as a committee to continue to work out this part, if I can do that. Okay, great. Thank you. If that's all right for me to say. Thank you. Okay, so
Could the annual reports committee decide on the goals for 25?
I think that's what we did last year. I think y'all drafted a set of them.
Right.
Maybe it might have been those 5, it might have been a couple more or something like that. And then when we released the entire annual report to the full commission for their edits, notes, comments, everything, it included, and also, if you have another goal you'd like to include, if you have an edit to a goal, now is the time. And we didn't get anything, which is fine. But I think that's what we did. I think giving them the foundation or the guidance for that was very helpful. Because you emailed everyone asking for
Yeah.
goals, right? Like the full commission,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they've already had a chance. Yeah, they've already had a chance to submit something.
So what we've just been talking about has been for fiscal year 2025.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yes. And then I think what we just need to do on our part, and actually, I think staff can fill these in. I might need to follow up the allocations and CP&E. But for the other goal,
You're back.
for 2024 in the appendix, those goals, numbers 1, 2, and 3, which were bond, city manager's budget, and public art, we definitely did those because check. The one that we might not have gotten quite to is commission making recommendations to staff to support the relaunch of Space Finder.
Right.
I think we might just need to, I think we have some clarifying information on that, but I think that'll be it.
This is on page 35.
Oh, that's true.
Page 35, yeah.
Yes, page 35.
Yeah.
So I think I will add some of like, hey, on this date, we briefed, commission on this item or something like that. We'll go back and look into that. Okay. And then the appendix on a separate file and, if y'all can fine. It's just, it's so much information. It's so much information. All right. That's all I have for our briefing and stuff.
So do we want to thresh out what the commission's goals should be for 25?
Okay, well, that's what I thought I was going to volunteer to do.
That's what we're
I'm
looking at.
taking, well, just at the same time, kind of look at that
Sure.
and then and then make sure we're covering the buckets that we want to cover that are important to the work that we do, and I'll send those out.
Great,
Does that sound like?
Yeah.
awesome. So she'll take a stab at it.
You'll take a stab at it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love it. And she's gonna
Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Sylvia didn't get enough last year, so she's doubling up this year, doing it all by herself.
Okay, great. Well, that's all I have for my stuff then.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. This is,
So does anybody else have any new business? So all business before the annual report committee being duly considered, I call this meeting to a close at 6.
5:40.
What?
So.
Timeline.
Okay, yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that would. Because we have voted as tentative.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, probably then. Yeah,
Probably.
okay.
Yeah, probably. I think the 4th, not the 11th, right?
Well, the 4th is when we'll send out another
Oh, that's right.
draft.
Yeah, the 11th is the
Is
meeting.
would be the meeting itself.
Okay.
Then we would leave.
Yes.
Yes, December 11th. David, is that okay with you?
Yes, and but we're still looking at before the 21st meeting. The revisions that we made today is what we'll present as a draft on the 21st, correct?
Yes.
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 Oh, okay,
Yeah, that's.
fantastic.
Does
Okay,
that work with your schedule?
that should be fine. Yeah, because those edits our edits from today are relatively small. So we should be able to get that in, and then, no, I don't think so.
They're small
I actually
edits.
just sent it anyway, it's okay.
But they're just being able to get the graphics and things like that. It's just the art.
Right.
Yeah, the big push. So we'll at least have content, at least the graphics that we were able to look at today, ready to go for their review.
So I think the timeline looks fine.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, great.
So all business before the annual report committee being duly considered, I call this meeting to a close at 5:45 or 5:43.
Great. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.